Hi, Steve.
Hey, Jim. I was thinking, how do you want to start the show today? Maybe quote some Steely Dan lyrics?
Black Friday? No, too cliche.
Okay, well, maybe this. How about we make fun of some big box stores?
I'm all for that, but I don't want to tick off the Chinese government.
Well, good point, good point. Maybe how about a Pauly Shore imitation?
I don't even think I could sink that low. Buddy. And welcome once again to Two Guys Talking About Records, a vinyl community podcast where we have tons of fun. My name's Jim, and I'm a record store owner.
And I'm his buddy, Steve, and I'm a record collector.
And if you haven't guessed, today on the show, we are going to be talking Record Store Day, Black Friday.
Yes. It's that time again. The older you get, it's like it's every other month, it seems like.
But did that come around quickly?
But boy,
and there's a method to our madness with the Pauly Shore that we'll get into, but I can't believe it. I don't even want to go there.
They couldn't find a wrestler to put on this for this one, so we had to go, let's go somewhere else.
And no Dio picture disc either. But coming up here on the show, we will run down that Black Friday list and give you our picks of what we think is going to be hot, the things that each of us are going to be looking for, and just some general thoughts in general. I say general a lot on that, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
But first, because this is a vinyl community podcast, we like to cover our pickups for the week. Did you get some goodies?
Well, I went to a record show yesterday. That was costly, but I won't go on that one.
You know, you said you were going to socialize while you were there.
I did. And I did socialize. I did a very good job at that. And then I just go, where's the good stuff? And then they kept taking me to a box. You know, everyone had the box.
You've got something to show you, Mr. Carlson. We know you.
Yep. Yeah, it's the problem. But I did pick, I had a couple items come in. One is a group called 1981, and the album's called Move On. It came out this year. It's an Oakland duo. It's indie rock, power pop, really great sounding stuff. Again, it's new. And so it has kind of a fresh sound to it, but it's very nice power pop out of Oakland, California. Really enjoyed it. And then their group was called Blue Ocean, and this album came out last year. And they're from Oakland too, so I don't know how I got two albums from two groups from Oakland. Beats me. Indie rock shoegaze. It definitely had the darker type of shoegaze happening in there, buried vocals, really nice sounding.
Cool.
I picked up two albums from the Golden Palominos. Remember those?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Not familiar, but I know of them.
Yep. One of them was Visions of Excess from 1985. And what made the Golden Palominos interesting is, there was one or two that generally were on every album, but then they would bring in people. So Visions of Excess, on it sings Michael Stipe, sings a number of songs, John Linden, Richard Thompson plays guitar, and Jack Bruce sings a song.
Wow.
Then I bought their next one. It came on 86, Blast of Silence. And on this one, Matthew Sweet sings. Jack Bruce sings again. He does such a good job. And he plays harmonica. T-Bone Burnett's on guitar. And a lot of the singing now is done by Sid Straw. And she kind of began doing a lot of the singing for them. So I had a few of these in my older collection. And I just remembered, they had some really interesting music. So that was kind of a fun pickup.
That is a cool one, but a good time at the show.
It was, yeah, it was. There was. There was quite a few people. I got there a little earlier than I normally do. I had a list. I didn't find a lot that was on it. Some stuff I got really good price. Some stuff I get home, I think I overpaid on that one.
Yeah, well, that's how it goes. And for those of you not from our area, that area being mid-Michigan, this is a semi-annual show called the Bay City Record Convention. They do a good job putting that on every twice a year.
Yeah, they do. And a lot of vendors and lots to look at.
For me this week, not much. It's a light week, but I did some cleaning in the back room. I'll get to that one here in a second. But I picked up a new album recently released from the Marcus King Band called Carolina Confessions. Great blues rock. Just fantastic blues rock. little bit of country mixed into it as well. So I'm getting used to it, but it made it past my high standards.
Is it a newer group?
Well, they're new-ish. Marcus King is the lead singer of this.
Okay.
He's done some solo work, but this one is from the Marcus King Band, but from South Carolina. Yeah, Greenville, South Carolina.
Okay.
So, but some really nice sounding blues rock. I'll play it for you here in a little bit so you can check that out. The other pickups was one from John Anderson from Yes, his first solo LP called Elias of Sunhillow. You want to talk about, it was when Yes was on a break. They were on a break.
Yeah.
They can go from there. But that one was from 1976, and it is just out there. It's a concept album, which those can always be fun, but I have to read you this description of the concept album that tells the story of 4 tribes of an alien race and their journey to find a new planet after their home is threatened by a volcanic eruption. Elias, a magician, builds a spacecraft named the Moorglade and is helped by fellow magicians to gather and carry the population to their new home.
You know, was he sitting on the toilet one day and just, wow, I got a thought here. You know, I should do an album about this. My God.
It's everything from the vocals. I mean, it's tough when a vocalist breaks free to become a solo artist because it sounds like Yes. And for all intent and purposes, this could be a Yes album, from the artwork to the sound to the vocals, but it's not. It's John Anderson. And it's interesting, and I'm going to keep that in the collection for a while simply because I find kind of that depth interesting, and I'm trying to hear the story and the music and the lyrics. I don't quite get it yet, but that's just me. And then finally, this is the one I found in our back room. I was kind of cleaning up back there, and I'd set it aside because the cover looked interesting. You know how that lures us in a lot of times. This is from an artist named Jack Nitsky, and the album is from 1972, and it's called St. Giles Cripplegate. Now, Discogs calls this classical music, but it also says rock in there. So I listened to it, and it's classical. We're talking strings, orchestral, truly a classical album, but more of a neoclassical, some more modern. Well, as modern as 1972 could be at that point in time. So Jack Nitsky, I had to do some digging on this. You kind of know the name, but you don't really know the name. He was a record producer, did a lot of soundtracks, including some scores for The Exorcist and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But he's best known for co-writing the song Up Where We Belong with his then-wife, Buffy St. Marie. And I think they won an Oscar for that, or something along those lines for Best Song, Best Original Song. But then come find out he worked with Phil Spector a little bit. He was involved with the Wrecking Crew at one point in time. He's credited as a instrumentalist on some Rolling Stones albums. But he was also in the backing band for Neil Young's Harvest LP, and then became a early member and a fairly long-term member of Crazy Horse with Neil Young. So to find that kind of a rock, that classic rock, folk rock cred in his background mixed with some classical soundings makes for a tremendously interesting album of classical music. Yeah. And so it was Jack Nitsky's and St. Giles Cripplegate is what it's called. So
I'm familiar with the name, and who the person is, especially when you said the Wrecking Crew, and I remember seeing him on some other albums. Wow,
so a couple of them with just, really trippy covers and musical stylings that range from Yes to Beethoven on acid.
Okay.
It very well could be. So those are the pickups. It's been a light week, but that's okay. We can't always go to record shows and bring in tons and tons.
That's right.
Like yours next week is going to be kind of a big one if we play our cards right here. One of the things I wanted to talk about before we get to the Record Store Day Black Friday list, I told you about this a couple of weeks back, and I keep mentioning it on our live YouTube updates, but we have here at the store lost one of our major distributors. They're closing. Technically, they're closing at the end of the year, but they are really kind of winding things down by the end of this month, and they're going to just kind of go on thin air as they go through December. But these were some folks. It's Ingram Entertainment is the name of the company, and I've been working with these guys since they took over from Baker Taylor, which was another mid-range distributor. And from what I understand, they're one of the biggest in the country. But they did, in addition to music, vinyl and CDs, they also did video games, the physical video games, and movies, more importantly, DVD and Blu-ray. And the bottom has absolutely dropped out of the physical movie market because of streaming, as well as the physical video game market. So this company had decided to get out of that end of their business. And then a week later, they said, you know what, we're going to pack it all in. End of the year, we're done. And this is one of our major distributors, the folks I get new vinyl from, and one of two that I would get Record Store Day material from.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a blow. And combine that with the fact that it kind of took the industry by surprise. There were several different places that you could get Record Store Day releases from, these mid-range distributors, as well as Record Store Day and would handle distribution themselves, like with that Randy Macho Man Savage. They took that over to make sure everybody got an even amount, that being one, in April. But now, our store, being a little smaller store, I'm faced with either at this late stage of the game finding another distributor to bring in Record Store Day stuff, or just sticking with our other one, which is Alliance. They're a big one also. And Alliance does really good with what they do, and they're good folks as well. I like balancing between the two suppliers for our store. But Record Store Day kind of stepped in, and now instead of a couple of different places, 3 or 4 different places that stores like ours can get Record Store Day material from, they've narrowed it down to 2.
Wow.
One being Alliance, and the other being, I'm trying to remember what it is. I think it's All Media Supply or something like that. And I got some solicitations from this other distributor saying, hey, you want to jump on board, you can get Record Store Day stuff from us. But personally, I think I'm just going to stick with one for now and kind of roll the dice. In past Record Store Days, I've always kind of hedged our bets and bought, especially super limited stuff. I'd ask for 1 or 2 from each of them and then hopefully get 1 from one of them.
Yeah.
And that's the gamble that we play with getting and ordering Record Store Day stuff, especially the super limited. So this is going to be interesting, this Black Friday. And I'm glad that the list is a little bit toned down.
Yeah.
Because that's going to make it easier to transition to either one, or if I pick up a second distributor early next year for April's Record Store Day.
Yeah, you said the physical DVDs and games kind of hurt them. I just recently read a thing how VHS is making this huge comeback now, and the prices are skyrocketing if you have VHS tapes. I tried in garage sales to sell them forever, and I wound up giving away 1,000 like DVD and VHS just to Goodwill, because no one would buy them. And now people want VHS.
And I've got some very, very pointed opinions on this one, because VHS, like cassette tapes, is a magnetic medium. Vinyl records, if they're taken care of, will last 100+ years. And that's evidenced by the fact that I've got some shellacs that were made, in 1915, 1920. So those are over 100 years old. But even now, as we're getting into some of the great classic rock bands and the early rock bands like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, 50+ years, and you can still find sometimes in great shape, and they sound great. But with a magnetic medium, cassettes in particular, and stop trying to make cassette day happen. Yeah. That's not going to happen. VHS is that same thing. Over time, that magnetism degrades, and that magnetism is the content.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a good way to test a VHS or a cassette, you could spend all this money on one only to find the quality severely degraded.
Well, we're just going to have to see if the VHS revival happens, and suddenly we'll have Blockbuster video stores back up.
Do we want an offshoot of the podcast, 2 guys talking about VHS?
Yes.
No.
I know.
But this does bring us back around to Record Store Day and the discussion of Record Store Day Black Friday. Earlier this week, that being the first week of October, the list was released around the time that we had expected. And first impression on my part is that it seemed very subdued, kind of a lesser list. I think I counted out maybe 175 releases, and I'd have to go back and look at last year's to see where things sat, but it just feels a little bit lighter this year.
It was only like 4 pages, and I know the Black Friday one definitely is always a lot smaller, which is good because you're buying for Christmas, so you need to be smaller, for this, one day. I did also feel that you could see how they are trying to move more into a younger audience to get them in, especially with the amount of rap and hip hop that was put onto this, which I think is great what they're trying to do to keep it, especially for you as a record store owner. You want to keep them interested. But there definitely is a bigger movement that way.
It feels that way. There's still good representations of the other genres, including some big jazz ones in here this time around. But I actually think that this is a better move for them. April was so huge, and there was just so much and so much excitement, and Taylor Swift had a lot to do with that, that it feels good to kind of sit back a little bit and say, okay, let's reassess. Let's focus on, instead of just a crap load of releases, let's narrow those down and really get some quality content across a good mix of genres. And I think that's what they've done.
Yeah, I agree that you had to. It was mind-boggling, the April one, and you could find that stuff around afterwards. There was so much.
And that is always the danger from the record store side of things. It's like, I'm happy when we run out of record store day stuff. I'm not when I've got, 60, 70 things left. We did good in April. It took a few weeks, but we've narrowed that down. So it's going to be interesting to see how our orders, and which are due, we're recording this on the 8th of October, and I'm due here in about another 3 or 4 days to put our order in. I said orders, didn't I?
Yes,
it's order this year. So we'll see what goes. For the uninitiated, by the way, when a record store puts in their order for record store day stuff, you can take this from the record collector side of things. You say, man, this would be cool to have this. And if you're brand new, what do? You call the record store, because I got 2 of these calls this week. Hey, I saw that this record day store thing coming up on Black Friday. I'd like to pre-order a blankety blank blank. And I'm like, nope, can't do it. I'm sorry. Per the rules for record store day, an independent record store such as ours at Radio Wasteland are not allowed to take pre-orders. We're not allowed to hold. And most importantly, we're not allowed to price gouge like the flippers do when the day comes. So in exchange for agreeing to not do those things, we are therefore allowed to sell and participate in record store day.
Yeah, first come, first serve,
It is.
get in line. And the lines aren't nearly as bad for Black Friday. Of course, the lines where we live are a lot colder for Black Friday, but it's not as crazy. And so, chances are you should be able to get what you want if the record store has it or was able to get it. And, in the past, it was really hard. And now they have made more available out there to try to get. There's still some really rare ones in here, like 600 only. But even the last one, you got, you were able to get some of that extremely limited stuff.
And that, I owed that to the fact that I could bounce between 2 different suppliers, which, again, this will be a good dry run to see what happens for the major record store day in April. Not that this isn't a major one. Black Friday is a big event, and I don't want to sell that short. But it's always fun to do, although it's a little bit different. And they've structured the Black Friday one to be different. And they're always saying it's not just a weekend event like the April one. It's meant to kick off the shopping season and get folks interested in coming out. So, we here at our store, we'll open up early still. We do 8 a.m. That way. The other record stores in the area, if people are planning to hit all 3 or 4 of them in our area, they can do so by staggering the opening times, which is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So
that works out nice.
So looking at the list, as I said, my first impression was a little scaled back, but what do you think? Is there a standout or 2 for you on here?
There is a must-have for me on here, and it is a group called Rydell Kiley. Jenny Lewis is the lead singer from this group, and she does solo. This was their last album. When I bought this CD, it was called Under the Blacklight. And it blew me away. And it was my favorite CD probably of that year. And I think, oh man, was it maybe 2007? Somewhere, I can't remember. But it was a wonderful CD, and it's never been released on vinyl except at that time when it came out. It was very limited. Now, they've been re-releasing the Rydell Kiley back catalog, everything but this album. So it might have been saving. Obviously, they were saving this. It does say Record Store Day exclusive, which means it probably comes in a colored one. Then we'll re-release it in black. But I know that's facetious. Okay, but that is, of all the albums on here, the one that I really, if I get that one, my world will be a better place.
technically speaking, when it says Record Store Day exclusive, it means that there will be no further reissue of that. Randy Macho Man Savage.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I had something in my throat there. That was
exactly.
supposed to be an RSD exclusive, but they miraculously found some somewhere. Yeah, right. Under the Blacklight, and this is what we can do with today's discussion too. I can call up our thing because our listing here, because the Record Store Day website list will just tell you about it. It'll tell you the quantities and what it is, but it won't give you prices, and that's usually what a lot of folks go. So looking at this, I can tell you, according to our sources, that the Under the Blacklight Rilo Kiley release is going to be limited to an odd number of 5,715.
What's with that? I mean, talk about throwing a dart at a board, but that's what it's at.
140-gram translucent grape vinyl, and will list for $24.98, so about $25. Reasonable one.
Yeah. The other one that's interesting, but it comes down to prices. There's a Bo Diddley set. It's a 4 LP set by Bo Diddley. It's like all his hits. For those that like the Bo Diddley beat, bump, 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 you can have 4 albums worth. Now, I mean, Bo Diddley's made such great hits in the 50s, early 60s, and then he just could never get out of his beat and struggled, but that one sounded interesting.
This one is called I'm a Man, The Chess Masters, 1955 through 1958, and it's being pressed by Third Man Records, being done by Third Man. 4 LP set, looks to be black vinyl. I'm sorry, it is not black vinyl. It's a Record Store Day Black Friday exclusive variant on silver flake vinyl, 150 gram. 4 printed inner sleeves wrapped in craft paper slipcase with 4 wrapped inner jackets. So a 4 LP set for Bo Diddley. Ready for this? $131.98 is the suggested list price, so about $132 for the Bo Diddley.
Wow. Well, it's a thought. It's a great thought.
There's only 900 of them being pressed as well. Third Man, it's going to be a little more limited, I think, but
sure.
So 900, that could be a good get, but it's a pricey one.
It is. This was an interesting one on here, and then we got one we both agree on. Istanbul 70. It's a various artists one. Istanbul Psych Disco Folk. This came out in 2011, but the vinyl, but a medium price is like $70 on Discogs, goes up to $135, and it is a Record Store Day first with $9.50. But Turkey has such great psych music, and I've been finding a few of them. This one sounded fascinating.
Okay, so our info says 180 gram purple vinyl. It's up there a little bit for a double LP set, coming in at a list price of $57.98 suggested.
Boy, that is a lot for a double, isn't it?
It is. So we'll have to see where that one goes, but it does sound interesting as well.
It does. And then the final one, which you and I both agree on, the ever famous, the single Detachable Penis by King Missile, Happy Hour.
I like King Missile. Okay, I'm going to have to say this. It's very obnoxious music for the uninitiated. They call it spoken word, and at first I thought, it is. There's music, there's harmony, but essentially the vocals are all just the lead singer. I forget his name at the moment. John Hall. There it is.
Okay.
Just speaking through. I mean, some of his more famous ones, not on Happy Hour, include Gary and Melissa, Jesus Was Way Cool is a fun tune, and of course, Cheesecake Truck. But Detachable Penis, thanks to Beavis and Butthead and MTV, is what put these guys on the map. So I wouldn't get it if you're offended easily.
Yeah.
But I would also not get it if you're not a fan of... the best way for me to describe King Missile, and I do have a King Missile album. I've got the album They in my collection. I have had that since it was released in the late 80s. And it's like beatnik poetry. You remember that street beatnik poetry with the bongos? This is that minus the bongos, but you add in an alternative band behind it that sort of kind of reminds you of the Dead Milkmen. So it's beatnik poetry, alternative punk.
Well, that's a great.
Is it a great way to call it that?
I think so. When you say beatnik poetry, it reminds me of Animal House when John Belushi went in. The guy was playing that guitar, the folk music, and smashed the guitar. That's what I want to do with the bongos when I see them. When I think of beatnik poetry, just smash them bongos.
But that's, I think, the best description of King Missile is it's beatnik poetry set to music, minus the bongos.
Yep.
But it is out there. Do yourself a favor, look up Cheesecake Truck. Some enterprising person on YouTube several years ago made an animated video for Cheesecake Truck. And that'll give you an idea. I mean, you could look up Detachable Penis as well, but that is a fun one. This one, it says it's the 30th anniversary edition of this spoken word cult classic from John Hall's King Missile, featuring the notorious singles Detachable Penis. Oh, and I forgot about Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
Have you heard that one?
Yeah,
okay.
I did. Yep.
He makes the best. There's actually a censored version of Martin Scorsese that was made available to radio stations at the time to be able to play, because like any good Scorsese movie, the song was loaded with F-bombs and descriptions of physical violence that we won't get into on this family podcast. But there's actually kind of a more radio-friendly version of that where Hall stifled all the F-bombs and talking about his love for Martin Scorsese. This one, though, I would imagine is going to be the uncensored version on this reissue. Let's see. And it's an exclusive, so it's not going to be around. Limited to 2,000 is that what we're saying, blue vinyl. So list price on that looks to be about $37.98. But that's one I'm going to try for myself. Yeah. But I have to play by the rules too. Mm-hmm. So we'll see where that goes. But that's a fun one.
It is. But man, 37. It's record store day, I tell you.
The other one that I'm mildly interested in is Carter Burwell, who has done the music for a lot of the Coen brother films. Speaking of not Scorsese, but the Coen brothers, stuff like for Raising Arizona. He was involved in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? They've got a reissue of the soundtrack for Blood Simple, the original motion picture soundtrack from Carter Burwell, coming out. Talking about this as an expanded edition of the 1985 film, featuring the original score by Burwell. Let's see. Oh, man, I forgot he worked on Fargo as well as Big Lebowski and No Country for Old Men. There wasn't much of a soundtrack to No Country, by the way. No. This one is a Record Store Day exclusive as well. It doesn't say if there's a colored vinyl. I don't believe it is. Listing for about $26 on that. And not so much that I'm a big fan of the orchestral stuff in this, but I like the Coen stuff, and I've got a few other Carter Burwell soundtrack albums, so I might be trying for that one.
Sure. And that's it.
That's your biggies.
All right. Hey, it's a wrap.
No, there's one other one that I'll give this one a second thought as well, because there is a lot of people, and I can tell you that this is probably going to be one of the bigger ones this time around, and that is from the Screaming Trees.
Yeah.
Did you look at that one yet?
Yep, I did. It's a live one, live at Egg Studios.
Correct. This description reads like a small novella, so I'm not going to go too far into it. But they're saying that, yes, it was recorded live, but they're also saying there's no audience, no cheering, but just raw, live power nonetheless being recorded here. So that's an interesting aspect of recording a live album without an audience in this case. But this session sat unheard for nearly 30 years, and it's a great testament to why Screaming Trees are remembered as one of the Northwest's most exciting and intriguing live bands, pressed on white and yellow fried egg colored vinyl. The Screaming Trees live at Egg Studios, sans audience. Looks like it's going to list for about $29, $28.99.
Okay.
Limited to just 200. That can't be right. Is that right?
Ooh, boy.
I think we better look that up here.
Yeah.
Our list says 200, but I don't think that is correct. No, okay, the quantity on the Record Store Day website says 2,500.
Yeah, 25,
so that's obviously a typo on mine, because if it was 200, there would be no chance in hell that people would be able to get it. But 2,500 is a decent press, so that one should. But we are getting a lot of requests for that one here.
Wow. How about, I saw Joanie Mitchell, which I'm not a Joanie Mitchell fan, but Court and Spark demos are coming out. 6,300 of those as an RSD exclusive. And I know that's such a popular album.
Yeah, it is, and that's a big number to come out. That one will not be a difficult one to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Court and Spark, Joanie Mitchell's most commercially successful album, features never before heard demos from that iconic album, including Help Me and Raised on Robbery. Very reasonably priced, about $24.98. But yeah, not the album itself, but a Court and Spark demo. So if you're a big Joanie Mitchell fan, this may be a great companion to one of her very popular albums.
Yeah. And then I was surprised on this one. I can't believe it's being released. The Monkees is releasing The Monkees RSD first. Hasn't that been released like every other year or something?
It feels like it, and don't let me forget, we got to go to the Mickey Dolenz one that's on here. Multicolored splash vinyl, mono, limited edition, gatefold. This one's coming from Friday Music, so yeah, not only is that always around, but it's going to be kind of expensive knowing Friday Music. But 2,000 of them.
Yeah.
As we said on that splash color vinyl, looks like it's listing for about $37.
Wow.
For a Monkees, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one, but you're going to be a big Monkees fan, I think, for that. But that's got Last Train to Clarksville on it. What else is on there? It's the good ones. I Want to Be Free, Papa Jean's Blues, the songs that everybody wrote for him.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. So there's some other big ones on the list here, too. You just want to go through the list, and we'll see what pops into our brains.
Yeah.
The 13th Floor Elevators I'm getting a few requests for. Bull of the Woods. This is their third and final studio album, and I don't hear much about this one. The big collectible one is always going to be the Psychedelic Sounds, their first one, Easter Everywhere, which you notice is no longer behind me here, but that's always a popular one. But I've not really heard too much about Bull of the Woods.
An original goes for around 280, medium value. It has been reissued since then, and it's available out there. But yeah, I mean, 13th Floor, just they have that cult type feel. So I could see that being popular.
That one looks like it's listing for about $30, $29.98, and there's going to be 3,500 of them.
Okay. I saw the Chet Baker Trio's putting out one, for those, that really, they enjoy their jazz. Obviously, Chet Baker made a lot of great stuff. The Chet Baker Trio. This was from '85 though, and it was released in the Netherlands. So it's an older Chet Baker. It's where he had to. Well, by then he didn't have any teeth, so they had to. So he's with his false teeth, which when you play a trumpet, that can't be the easiest thing. But it's Chet Baker, and so there's a lot of people that will really be into that one.
Double LP, 2,300 of them being pressed. Looks like it's listing for about $49 for Chet's Choice. There's a couple of Eric Carr. Didn't we just go through the Eric Carr stuff last Record Store Day as well?
I thought so.
I'm trying to remember.
How great. He did. I mean, how much does that guy have out there? I mean, I guess
this is that extra Kiss solo LP that wasn't part of the original four. There looks like there's going to be a compact disc, picture disc, a CD picture disc. Wow, well, that's what CDs are, and a picture disc version of this as well. So picture disc version, $4,030 for the Kiss fans on there.
Wow.
There's a Captain Beefheart. They're reissuing Shiny Beast as well. Looks like it's going to be about $39. $4,000. Beefheart's a tough one for me. It's really an acquired taste. I've tried. I can't quite do it.
Same here. Mother's Milk is actually an easier beef. People had suggested try that one. It was like one of his first ones, Mother's Milk. And it actually sounded like normal music. And it wasn't bad, and I did like that one. But Trout Mask Replica, when I had that every year, I would play it once just to see, is this the year I get it? And then put it back in and go, no, wasn't this year. We'll try it again next year.
Floodwaters, take it away.
Yeah, it did. And I haven't bothered to bring it back in. Though you do have one on your wall staring at me.
I see that. That's a Third Man one.
Yes.
For the holiday season, they are including the Beach Boys Christmas album, which is always a good holiday favorite. If you like those, if you like the Beach Boys harmonies, that's coming across in the album that was originally released in '64, has 7 holiday classics on it. and 5 original tracks. 2,000 being pressed, and it looks like that's coming in at around $29.98 and on green vinyl.
Well,
that's a fun one for those that are fans.
There was this, it's a bluegrass one, Derek's Bentley. And it's called Up on the Ridge, a 10th anniversary. It came out in 2010. Yeah, what's interesting on that one is if you want to buy one, it's a medium value of $100 on Discogs.
Wow.
Yeah.
The OGs?
Yes, the OGs. And it really, I don't think it has been re-released in vinyl. So, I mean, there must be something there. You know, bluegrass is a lot of fun. It makes you feel happy. You know,
yes.
You're feeling a little down, toss some bluegrass on. You're whistling a new tune for the day.
So we're seeing this one, 3,500 being pressed, list price of $29.99 for the Up on the Ridge from Dierks Bentley. That could be a fun one.
Yeah, the hip-hop was huge in here. Just a lot of different ones. Buck Cherry's putting out Time Bomb, which was, that one came out in 2001. That was really popular when that came out. I used to have the CD on that.
That one looks on limited edition metallic brown with black swirl vinyl, listing for about $33.98 and $2,000. So that could be a tough get as well.
And
it
is a first.
It is, yeah. Oh, so they'll reissue that. Yeah. You saw the Cypress Hill on there as well?
Mm-hmm, I did.
The Black Sunday remixes. Oh, that's a 12-inch single. 3,100 of those coming out and listing for about $22. So, yeah, you're going to get just a few songs in that, but obviously the big one from them.
Hey, Mickey Dolenz is on here. Puts You to Sleep.
There it is. Okay, I know I did see that on there. The Mickey Dolenz.
Boy, is that aptly titled, I think.
It's an unfortunate title because you don't want to talk about your music being able to put people to sleep, but it's meant to be it's an album of soft rock classics for children to help put them to sleep. It came from Rhino originally, so Mickey Dolenz singing lullabies and REM.
Wow.
No REM in the record store. That one, by the way, if you are so inclined, it's Friday music, so it's going to be more expensive. Translucent blue vinyl, $37 suggested list price on Mickey's.
The English Beat is reissuing their very first album. I Just Can't Stop It.
That's a cool one.
Yeah, it's an exclusive. I know you can still find in good condition the OGs. I mean, I bought one here. That was in excellent condition.
And they're not that expensive.
They're not that expensive. It is a great album, and if you haven't been able to find it, I mean, this is a nice way to go. But
so they've turned this into a double LP reissue. Includes the original album plus a selection of rarities and alternate versions and live tracks on clear vinyl. 5,000 being pressed, $34.98 suggested list price for that.
For 2 LP, that's really bad. Good. Just You're getting stuff that maybe's okay, maybe's not.
So there's a Flaming Lips on there live. There's a few different live ones too. The Yoshimi Battles, the Pink Robots live. They're another one that I got to really be in the mood for to get into Wayne and the Flaming Lips outside of their more popular stuff. But yeah, that gets a little trippy. $25-ish on there, 4,500 of those being made.
De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising.
Oh, that's right. We're going back to the hip-hop here.
Yeah,
sorry.
But it's, okay, so that's been out. It's been in 1,000 color variants.
Holy
Everyone
cow.
has their own. Now it's in a 7-inch vinyl box set. I mean, that just sounds like hell.
It sounds like a collector's only dream.
Yes.
I've still got several copies of that floating around here in the store. After the initial excitement, it just kind of, okay, there it is. Yeah, this one, and it's not cheap. For you to get a 7-inch box set, 7-inch box set, how many are in there, does it say? 12 7-inches in that box set, coming in at a list price of $90, $91 in through there.
Come out from your record room, the wife looks at you, your husband goes, "You look like really tired today. What were you doing?" "Well, I was playing my De La Soul box set and had to keep getting up constantly."
This is one of them in your travels after Black Friday you're probably going to see because there's 3,500 of them being pressed. So if you're a De La Soul fan, you probably will find that in a bargain bin. I don't mean to be mean, but that's going to be so many of those left.
Yeah, just 7-inch, like Someone asked. Someone said, "Boy, if this was only in 7-inch, I would really
I
like."
really got a kick out of that.
I think all albums should be made. You give you a choice. You get the album or a 7-inch box set. How much was it?
$90, $91 for it.
All right. It could, you know what? It maybe it'll go up to $1,000, and then it go. Those two guys talking about records don't know jack.
They don't know it. You feel free to correct us on this down the line, but holy cow, yeah. All I can say is that I still have LP copies of this that aren't selling. So if you need one, call me.
we'll cut it down to 7 inches.
We'll repress them. No, we won't do that. All right, what else is jumping out at you that is either good, bad, or indifferent?
Besides Pauly Shore, which, when it comes to Pauly Shore, there's so many movies that come out, and I keep saying, wouldn't it be cool if Pauly Shore, a new Star Wars, wouldn't Pauly Shore made a good Luke Skywalker, or Fast and Furious, wouldn't Pauly Shore? I haven't thought, what the...
Well, this one initially piqued my interest, and I thought, oh, well, that's kind of cool. Pauly Shore and the Crusties doing Crustopolis Volume 1. The description says, comedy superstar, and let me toss some air quotes in there. Pauly Shore, for the first time ever, unleashes his extraordinary vocal talent on this new 12-track cover collection. You remember him from Encino Man, blah, 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 and through there. What's kind of cool about this is that 75 copies of the 1,250 that are being pressed will have an autographed insert from Pauly Shore randomly inserted somewhere in there. So You're kind of gambling with this. Now, like I said, initially I thought the Pauly Shore one sounded interesting. So I thought, okay, I wonder what's out there. During the closures of 20 and 21, apparently Pauly Shore got together with some friends and started playing in the garage. And you know how sometimes music is so bad it's good? Even the Cramps said bad music for bad people, and I enjoy that. And saying I like King Missile also opens me up to criticism for saying I like this. Pauly Shore's music is not one of those where it's so bad it's good. Let me save you the trouble. I looked for them, and I found a couple of them online, and granted they were the live versions in his garage. He sings like he speaks. And basically, he's an older version. It's hard because Pauly Shore and I think, around the same age.
Yeah.
He just looks a little more worn out. And the voice is there too. And I am really, I don't want to say it, but it's not even the good kind of bad. It's the bad kind of good. Not even that. What am I trying to say? Yeah. It's just not good.
It's just not. Somehow someone thought maybe a relative owns a record company and go, well, I think we need to, we're going to get your career started again.
Feel free to check it out online if you get a chance. Just search for the Pauly Shore and the Crusties. And it's amusing for a little bit, and then it gets old because he covers several ones. Let me see if I can call that list up of the songs on here on what is on Crustopolis Volume 1 from Pauly Shore and the Crusties. The track list has a Ranch House intro with him talking. Zeppelin's Whole Lotta Love, Celebrity Skin is on there. Bad to the Bone. That's one of the ones I watched the video of. It's bad to the bone and a little bit deeper. Rocket Man, Joe Walsh's Life's Been Good. I did not hear that one. Learn to Fly, which I imagine is going to be Foo Fighters, and then Imagine. He's going to make John Lennon spin around. Maybe he's got a duet with Yoko on there, which would help improve it. Boy. Wow. So there's Pauly Shore. Are you curious as to what that cost, and should I put you down for 5?
I'm curious on the cost, but that is as far as it goes.
1,250, and remember, 75 random copies will have signed art, autographed by Pauly Shore in there as well. Listing for $30.98, so $31 for Pauly Shore. Massacring our ears.
All right. Well, maybe we're just too old to get it.
I guess. I don't get it.
There was a limited run one, so it's a regional focus, which can be hard to get, if you're not in the right area. But there's a group called Fraternity, and Fraternity, I believe, was Bon Scott's one of his early groups. The name of the album is going to be Second Chance. It's a 2 LP set, only 800 of them.
Yep, Australian rock legends Fraternity, recently unearthed and curated Archives of the original band manager. You see. Yeah, this put Bon Scott on the radar and got the attention of George Young, the AC/DC co-producer and brother of Angus and Malcolm, eventually leading Scott to replace then frontman Dale Evans. I didn't realize there was another frontman before that. But yeah, Light in the Attic Records, so that's going to be a good press, but it also means it's going to be a little expensive. 800, as you mentioned, being pressed, $45.98 as a list price.
Wow, 2 LP set.
2 LP set, but there's some good ones. So I think that kind of covers the highlights and maybe at least one low light or a couple in through there. I would encourage folks to do some digging yourselves, go through the list. You can find that at recordstoreday.com, and it's a real easy list to navigate. And it'll give you some information as far as the number of pressings and whether or not it's an exclusive or it will be reissued as a Record Store Day first.
And let us know what you're looking at. What excited you? What did you find? Especially you go to the Radio Wasteland YouTube channel, put in a comment on kind of what you're looking for.
Exactly. We'd love to hear from you in that respect. And feel free to take us to task for Beefheart and Pauly Shore.
Whatever else.
And De La Soul.
7-inch box. Yep.
Oh, well, so it goes. But I'm looking forward to Record Store Day Black Friday, as I do all of the RSD events. They're fun. Whether you find something you really, really need or not, it's still a good time. And it's a great time to hang out at a record store.
It is. And that is the whole purpose to me, is just coming in, being with people, fellow record collectors, and, just little bonding time.
Yep, and with some of these, you'll be able to look and find them throughout the Christmas season, hopefully.
Yep, exactly.
That is the thing. Okay, folks, that will do it for another week of two guys talking about records and griping. It feels like more of a gripe session than we've ever had.
But in a fun way.
In a fun way. Okay, buddy. It's time to get the weasel. I don't even know how to quote that anymore. I'll tell you the truth. I kind of forgot that 30 years ago. Yeah. All right, folks, you have a good week. My name's Jim. I'm a record store owner.
And I'm Steve, a record collector.
Thanks for listening.